Hello everyone, we're here at the iKon facility. Today we're going to go over how to install the LX series dual console. I'm here with Dylan Douglas. He's one of the main engineers behind the design and development of basically our dual console and how it functions, and it's really interesting. So we're going to go by step-by-step process, drill bits, patterns, placements, the how-tos to install your dual console on an LX model iKon. Before I start removing the closeout panel inside the rod locker, a pro tip is take you some tape. You see the 90 drain located right here in the corner of the rod locker, and basically tape the hole up. This could, virtually whenever you start messing with hardware, if you accidentally drop something, save you from having to dig it out of the drain.
All right, so the first step to installing your co-angler console is to determine what parts to remove. So inside this rod locker right here, there's a closeout panel that is held in place by 5 screws. See, Brent here has already taken the liberty of removing all the screws. So with this panel removed, you can access all your bolts here to install your parts. But before we start, we need to remove this hose by cutting the 3 zip tie mounts in here and pulling it down out of the way.
Okay, so now we got that loose, we're good to go.
Good to go.
Yep.
We're gonna move to the interior of the cockpit here. So if your boat is equipped with the optional speakers, go ahead and remove your speaker by removing the 6 screws and unplugging it from the wire harness. So if your boat had the speakers, that's it for removing parts. That's all you got to remove. If you don't have the speakers, you have to remove this rod butt storage right here. So what you do is you peel up the pad, and inside here there'll be screws in here, and you can just go ahead and zip all those out and simply remove this.
You notice there'll be 8 screws in it, typically. Move that out of the way.
Yeah, 8 screws.
At the top, yep. So you see them at the top, middle, or, and then down at the bottom.
So now that we've got all our parts removed, we're ready to start putting paper templates on the boat and locating our components.
On the dotted lines that you have here, just so they will know to pay close attention to, that's basically comes off the radiuses. Correct?
Yeah, so this template will start in the tray right here, locate around your drains, and roll up. We've given you multiple location points to give you the highest chance of getting this as centered as possible. So that's the big deciding factor right here, is you want to make sure this is centered in this tray as much as possible. Height is not so much as critical, because we can adjust for that later, but centering it up right now is what's important. And it really helps to have an extra set of hands here to hold everything tight while I go through and tape. Making sure you're getting pushed down tight in these corners and rolling around tight everywhere. Now, a pro tip too, is if you're having trouble with your masking tape sticking, is to wipe the area down with alcohol. There might be residual waxes or buffing compound, anything like that from the molds. Before drilling any holes, I recommend center marking using, I have an automatic center punch here, but a regular punch with a hammer works just as well. And we're only gonna do 4 of these holes right now. We're gonna start with this one on the very outside, this big hole right here, big hole over here, and this one on that side. So that's our outermost holes and our clearance for the pins. And we'll start here, get lined up, center mark. All right, so we're getting the sidewall template aligned up. This one's not as critical as that tray template right there, but we still try to do a really good job of getting everything in the proper position.
You say critical, what's the tolerance?
Tolerance, about 1/8 of an inch would probably, if you're within 1/8 of an inch, you'd be good. We're gonna drill these holes to 7/16, so they're a little oversized, so you can move your block around. Okay.
Of course, as always, you definitely want to check in behind there for wire and harness routing and everything else. Majority of the stuff is up high, but being that this one has a radio in it, then the speaker wired comes, should be below that, within an inch to 2 inches, but it is very close. It's always good to double check. That's the last thing you want to do is, you know, drill a hole into the wiring harness to the speaker. So, like I say, if you don't have a radio in the boat, obviously you're going to be able to reach it from here, or also this panel out. I mean, I can even stick my arm in here and reach and feel where the harness is as well.
So if you're in a metal flake boat, it's really hard to see your punch marks. So if you got a white China marker, or if you're in a light colored metal flake boat, a black China marker, but if you can feel them, just go ahead and give them a quick run over with that marker and it'll show up and you can easily find them. All right, so after my punch marks were made, I went ahead and drilled my pilot holes. I usually recommend somewhere around an 1/8 inch bit, something nice and small that's not gonna wanna walk all over the place on you. Always start your bits in reverse, especially on using these twist type drill bits. You'll chip your gel if you don't, especially on really sharp bits. But right here, I'm gonna start in reverse and I'm gonna drill until I'm through the gel coat. So I can tell when I'm through the gel coat when I see the color change in the dust. So I'm gonna switch to forward.
So now we can give them pro tip. Working with someone, it makes your job, you know, especially cleanup. You know, it speeds up the process. You got your shop vac, and basically you'll see what I'm about to demonstrate. Just turn it on. Go ahead. Nice.
All right, so now that we've drilled our holes in the tray, our 4 holes in the tray to 1/4 inch, we're gonna come back here and do our hole saws. I recommend using a diamond slurry tipped hole saw. You have a lot less risk of chipping your gel coat. But if you do end up using more traditional bimetal hole saw, make sure you run it in reverse, especially till you're through the gel coat, maybe even all the way through. And so we're drilling these 2 inside holes to our All right, we're here on the wall. We got our 1/8 inch pilot holes drilled. I'm gonna actually enlarge them a second time, go to 1/4 inch, and then step up to our final diameter of 7/16. All right, now that our holes are drilled, we can start with component install. So in the kit sent to you by the service department, you will have this wall block with a 3/8 washer and a 3/8 nylock nut. So I'll go ahead and remove my hardware off here. And we're using all stainless hardware and stainless studs. So we recommend putting anti-seize on the studs, especially if you're gonna use any sort of power tools. Stainless on stainless has a tendency to gall and can possibly seize up on you.
So if you see that, just so they understand, if they've never used anti-seize before, is that enough?
Oh, that's plenty.
Is that too much?
It might be a touch too much.
Okay.
You know, you'll probably be finding that at your house tomorrow.
So then I'm going to basically, always look at it as like a tube chapstick, and I can basically remove some of it off there, or I could get a rag as well, but this right here be fine. So basically, as long as you get some, more or less on the first 4 threads, right?
Correct. As long as there's something there. Right. We're running it in with hand tools right now, so the risk is relatively low.
Right.
So I'm gonna go ahead, install it. It's easiest to get in through the speaker if you have one, but you have to go in through the rod butt. It's also easily doable as well. You just gotta be a little flexible, get your elbow down in there. Got both my nuts started, so Brent, you let go now. You can see we're a little loose. You got some play in it. You can twist it a little bit, up, down. So I usually start with it all the way up and try to keep it as level as possible while tightening it. So it usually means running one side down just a little snug, looking at it, and then running my other side down. There we go. Helps if you put it the right direction. So I've ran my nuts down snug. I haven't fully tightened them yet. I'm gonna do a quick level measurement here, make sure we're even. So I'm 2.5 there, 2.5 there. We're good to go and fully tighten them. Now I'm gonna be installing what I call the receiving plate on the deck in the tray. I'm gonna take it out.
All right, so it's very important that you pay attention to the orientation as well. You notice the notches right here, it's a teardrop shape, and you basically put the heavy part of it just like a teardrop or rain falling to the bottom. So we'll line her up right here. And then, so Dylan's putting anti-seize.
We'll put it on these 2 outer holes.
Okay.
I'll hold this and hand Brent some hardware.
What size Phillips is that?
So this is a number 3 Phillips. So your standard off the shelf is going to be a number 2, but these are number 3. So make sure you have one of those so you don't strip a head out.
All right, and then on the nut that I'm installing on the back from the back side, what size socket or wrench will they need?
So you'll need a 7/16 wrench. I recommend putting a wrench on the back side and using an impact with a number 3 Phillips bit from the front.
Good. Now, note to self, when it works, you know, stainless to stainless, it's very important you pay attention and, you know, anti-seize, because if not, you'll actually seize them up, and then they'd have to cut them off, and then obviously get some more.
Yeah, so anything, always just go slow, take your time. Anti-seize is critical to making sure you do not seize a fastener. Now, it may look like I'm going hard on it and over tighten it, but when you go to put these large washers in here, especially sometimes as the glass builds up in these corners, you know, you got to use a large washer to distribute your load, but sometimes the glass will get into your corner and this washer will actually have to bend to match the corner. So you got to bend the washer a little bit. So yeah, so a lot of them early impacts where it sounds like I'm hammering on it's actually just this washer just bending a little, and then we'll bring it down.
Okay. So we got what, 3 more screws to go?
Yeah, 3 more screws, but we're not going to stall them at this point. We're actually going to go ahead and put our pad on.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to get ready to install our pad right here. Brent's spraying it down with isopropyl alcohol and wiping it clean. It's very important to install this pad before doing your first test fit. The thickness of this pad is accounted for in the way this dash fits. And you also don't want to damage your gel coat. I like to bring mine right here just a little bit closer to this edge right here. Gives you a little extra protection as this dash comes in and out. You look even your way, Brent, just come just a touch that way. So I'm getting Brent to hold that down. I'll peel back a corner. Now these pads do have a little bit of a time delay in the cure, so you got a 5-15 minute window, you know, to work with them a little bit before fully sinking them down. Once you have it in place, apply firm pressure, and then after that, it is set. All right, so we'd removed this pad in the bottom of the tray previously to put our tympan in place, so now we're gonna reinstall it.
Here's a quick pro tip. Now obviously we're here at the factory doing it, but it's always good to, or I personally recommend wiping off the back of your pads in case it's been sitting around and it's got certain dust on it. And then if you notice earlier in the video, I cleaned my fingers with alcohol. So then that allows you to line it up and, well, not necessarily line it up, but as far as the adhesive on the back of it to really stick. So then once you hold it in place, then you can peel my paper back so far. I could also take a a box cutter and score the paper on the back, and then peel me off, you know, a 2-inch strip. There's multiple ways of doing it, but cleaning it is very, very, very crucial.
Yeah, so you can actually peel it up and re-stick it down if you get off in an area. Just make sure before you're ready to stick it down, don't apply any firm pressure. All right, so we got the co-angler dash here. Disclaimer, this is not the co-angler dash for this boat. This dash for this boat is still being built, so we picked up an equivalent one off the line. They're all identical, so it'll be plug and play. But we're gonna go ahead and do our first test fit right here. So, holding it at an angle. I feel the pins engaged into the holes. I can bring it down. It's a little tight right there, pushing down a lot of pressure. So I'm gonna actually back a thread off on that latch. So I'm just lowering this latch just a touch. So I still got it loose, all finger tight. Open. There we go, nice and snug. Feels solid. Doesn't feel like it's gonna go anywhere. Heights below the gunnel. You know, it feels like I like to get in here, sit down, just kind of push up on it and give it a couple shakes. Yeah. But yeah, that feels good. So we hit it on the first time, but I'm gonna show you what to do if you don't. So the most common issue you'll run into is your dash won't go all the way down. What that means is your plate is low right here. So the reason we only installed 2 bolts at this time was that way we can adjust this plate up and then lock it down with the remaining 3. So me and Brent will run through what to do if that occurs. We'll go ahead and take this plate back off. That's why NECs is important too, because you may be taking this on and off a couple times. Okay, got it. All right, so we've removed our plate. If you do have any misalignment and you need to adjust, what I do is I come in here and I take this drill and then I just run it and just slightly make my hole into a slot just by putting constant upward pressure on it. I'll slot my holes up, you know, probably an 1/8 is what or a 1/16 even. I'd start small because it's a lot easier to go up than it is to go down. And then after that, I'd reinstall the plate, do another test fit, and tune the fit to exactly how I wanted it. And then once I've got the fit correct, I'll reinstall this plate again and drill out my remaining 3 holes and bolt it in place. So our test fit went great the first time, so we're not gonna do any additional modifications to the holes. So we're gonna go ahead and reinstall this plate and put our remaining 3 bolts in. All right, since we're not moving our plate any and we got the test fit right the first time, we went ahead and reinstalled our 2 outer bolts and we're preparing to drill these 3 in here. So I got my 1/4-inch bit. I'm gonna use the part as a template. And I'll just drill. Install in the tray area is completely done now. We have our plate fully locked down. Do another fit. Everything looks good. Everything feels solid. One thing before you hit the water, make sure you tighten your nuts down here on the pawl. Have not tightened these yet, just still hand tight, but I recommend placing blue Loctite on them once you've adjusted them. All right, so on the wall here, we have a locking compression latch. You can see the key slot right there. It's keyed the same as the hatch right here, but before ever hitting the water or trailing your boat, make sure this key is in the locked position. You don't want this latch accidentally coming undone. We've even included a nifty label right there to remind you. Depending on how your block lands too, if you can't get it, if you feel like you're down all the way as deep as you can get the dash to sit down and you can't catch, or you don't have enough threads on your block, or sorry, excuse me, enough threads on your latch showing, You can loosen these bolts up too and shift it up in the holes, or you can even, you know, slightly slot these holes too and raise your latch. You know, a lot of this stuff is set just a touch lower. That way, you know, you can adjust it up, because you can't adjust down once you have a slotted hole, the way the forces are applied on this part. But that's another little pro tip right there on how to fine tune your coiler dash.
So now we're ready to finish it up, install the speaker, co-angler rod butt storage, put her pad back on, and then boat be ready for the dual console.
Yeah, before putting components on, we always like to wipe down the surface, make sure any dust doesn't shake out. Another pro tip would tape your wire to the wall, that way you don't lose it and spend 5 minutes fishing for it like I just did. Get that, go ahead.
All right, now that we have all of our components installed, we're basically putting on the final touches, and I need to zip tie the drain hose back up, and then once it's zip tied back up, then we'll install our closeout panel and put our screws in. Then I'll remove the tape from my drain, then we'll be good to go. Thanks for watching on how to install the LX Series dual console. On behalf of myself, Dylan Douglas, iKon Boats, we'll see you on the next one. Be sure and check us out on ikonboats.com, on social media and our YouTube channel for more how-to videos.